Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Leaders of Today podcast. I am Jordan Reeves, and I'm joined here today by Joe Nardone.
Good morning, everybody. It's exciting to be with you. I enjoy Jordan so much. He's such a tremendous leader, and we're so happy to have him work with us here at Columbus Airports.
Oh, I'm so excited for this podcast. Mr. Nardone is actually the CEO of the Columbus Airport, and so I actually get to work with him in my other life when I'm not doing things like this. I get to be here and work at the airport. So I'm so excited to be able to get to interview him today. So we always start off with a story. So you have a story that you want to tell us?
So I have a great story. I was telling a story to Jordan. I am a proud Michigan State Spartan, and with so much pride, my daughter followed me and my two nephews to Michigan State. So we have a lot of camaraderie, and we spend a lot of time talking about football and basketball. But I'm so proud that the next generation, my daughter Jennifer and my nephews Cal and Cy, are all three Spartans, and we have so much in common. And I actually love my university, but I think they love it more, Jordan.
That's so funny. We were just talking about how we both hate Michigan. So Ohio State fans and Spartans, we all hate Michigan. So we're all on the same team. That's what I said.
Being in Columbus, we have a lot of friends here with the Buckeyes. The Buckeyes and the Spartans both have a. We don't like that blue and yellow stuff. So
they're disgusting. All right. So you just want to jump right in?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. So what does the phrase "leaders of today" mean to you?
So I am thrilled about Leaders of Today, having spent some time with Jordan, and I am such a believer in the future. I'm such a believer in folks, young leaders, because I'm proud of what I see with people around me, and I'm proud of Jordan, and I'm proud of the younger people, because I just see better, clearer thought and such good opportunity, and it's time for us folks to pass the torch to young leaders, because you all, the young leaders, are the future, and you are so much better than we are and were, and just really proud of where this country's going and where leadership is going with people like Jordan in leadership.
Wow, that's really cool. So thank you.
I'm excited.
Yeah, but we couldn't be where we are without you guys. And I think that's one of the really cool things about just Leaders of Today and how we've built our program, is that we have older people who are there to help us move forward, because you guys have so much more experience than we do in so many things.
But you're so much better than us, Jordan. So I see so much better. I see so much more heart with young leaders, and I see so much caring and things that really should matter, and things that should have mattered to us. You are making us aware and teaching us about what should matter, and we're grateful for that.
Yeah. So how did you go you went to college, so how did you go from a college student to the CEO of the airport?
Boy, I have a long story, Jordan. So I've worked in multiple careers. I actually worked in the steel business. I was the managing director of a plant in Belgium. So I've done a lot of different things, but it's usually always been around real estate. So I worked for a city. I worked for the Michigan legislature. I worked for the city, my hometown, twice. Worked for a nonprofit. So real estate is really sort of what I do. But as I like to say, I was working at a nonprofit taking care of their real estate, and my board chair, great guy, somebody that I've known a long time, actually had worked for at a time, said, "Hey, they have this great job available to you at the airport, and you should apply." And I said, "No, I really like this job working in nonprofit real estate. It's really fun, and people are really nice, and I work with a great bunch of people." And he said, "Look, this job's not big enough for you. You should be applying." So this is actually the chairman of my board of this nonprofit. So we work together. I work for him.
Wow.
But he said, "Look, they have this really good job at the airport, and it fits you perfectly." It was titled Director of Development. And I said, "Okay, I'm not going to apply for this." So I took 3, 4, 5 months and finally applied for the job. And they hired me. It took a long time, 6 months. So I was there about 2.5 years. They promoted me to vice president of business development. And then I like to say about a year after that, I made a wrong turn and they promoted me to CEO. So I had the pleasure of running a Detroit Metropolitan Airport, which is the top 20 airport in the country. So I have a long story. I've been involved in a lot of businesses and have been very fortunate. People have been very kind to me. So that's why I feel it's so important to focus on young leadership, because I have such admiration and respect for people that were so good to me, and I wouldn't be here without each and every one of those people who
Yeah.
have helped me along the road.
Mm-hmm. Didn't you do a little bit in politics too?
I did, yeah. So when I say politics, I worked when I was in college. I was at Michigan State University, which is directly adjacent in East Lansing to Lansing.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked. Actually started. I'll go back a little bit. I was an intern on Capitol Hill in Washington in the summer of
That's really cool.
1981. That dates me, but it was a great experience, and I encourage anybody who's watching or listening to really look at internships. So that really started me on my path. I was an intern during. You'll read about him in the history books during the Reagan Revolution, and then I came back and went to school at Michigan State, and one of the guys that I worked with ran for the Michigan legislature. So he said, "Hey, you're up in East Lansing, and I could use some help." So I went over and worked at the Michigan legislature, and then I went and worked in my hometown. So yes, it's politics, but it's really all just execution of projects and helping people. So whether it's an airport CEO or a staff member in a legislative staff or a city department head, it's all about what you can do for people. So
yeah. Okay, well, tell us about Belgium then. That was the first thing you said.
So that was fun. So I was working for a steel company, Huron Valley Steel and Fritz Enterprises, two companies owned by one guy. And I was the real estate guy, and we had spent tens of millions of dollars trying to negotiate a joint venture with some European partners, and we'd failed. We'd had investment bankers and lawyers, and we'd spent lots of money. And I said to our CEO, I said, well, I don't really know anything about mergers and acquisitions. I don't know anything about buying businesses or doing joint ventures, but why don't you give me a shot at this?
Yeah.
So we made a deal within 90 days with two European joint ventures to move, with two European partners, I should say, to create a joint venture to build a plant in a place called Overpelt, Belgium. It's a very Flemish region of Belgium. I was named, after negotiating the deal, we built a plant over there with these two great partners. And I was named the managing director of the company, even though the European partners wanted me to live in Belgium. My CEO wouldn't let me, so I had to commute quite a bit between Detroit, Michigan, and Belgium. But it was a pleasure running that business, and had a lot of fun, learned a lot. It's interesting, having been involved in multiple businesses in my career, whether it's an airport, whether it's a city, whether it's a steel company, it's all about people. And it's all about performance and execution, and it's about collegiality and trying to get everybody working together for success, and understanding that performance matters, but people matter too.
Yeah. That's something I really love about just you, and even just some of the, you can see how that trickles down through even to where I am, because even my managers they talk about how people matter all the time. So I'm super thankful for that.
Well, you're never sure that it's filtering down, because you don't always get people that think the same way that you do. But as long as we can have a philosophy, it really is, business is about culture, and it's about respect. And you can hold people accountable to do the right things, but you can respect them and talk to them decently. And I've always run businesses with that one word really stuck out: respect. And even if you have to part ways with somebody, people are not always a great fit. You have to respect them. And even if it's the last thing they do is say, well, I'm not going to work here anymore, or you don't want me to work here anymore, you want them to leave with decency, dignity, and respect.
Yeah.
Whether it's their choice or yours.
I like that. That's really good. What would you say is your biggest accomplishment?
Well, I'm going to make that personal. It's the raising of a daughter. But if you ask me what my biggest accomplishment professionally is, I would probably say negotiating that joint venture with the two European partners and being the managing director, because I was talking to people who they spoke English, not great, but we spent a lot of time trying to set up this operation in Europe. So I looked at sites in Germany, and I looked at sites we spent a lot of time in Amsterdam and the Port of Rotterdam and the Port of Amsterdam, and we were going to do this ourselves. And then we pivoted when this joint venture partner, which is one of the largest metals companies in the world, Umicore is their name now, but they've changed names since we did this deal. But being able to negotiate a deal with people from different countries and different cultures, and get the financing and set up something from the beginning to the end. And what I would say is, what's really important about that for your listeners and those watching is that you all can do anything you want to do. I went to college. My degree is in criminal justice. So tell me what criminal justice has to do with being an airport CEO or a mergers and acquisition guy or a real estate guy. None of it. So just find something that you love, work at it, and be good at it, and you'll find success. And people always ask about money, and my philosophy on money is do a good job, the money will come. I can tell you I'm 62 and a half years old, and I've never asked for a raise, but people continue to be kind to me and pay me well and do the things based on the success we've had.
Yeah. I always say work hard and be curious. And I think it's just, those are important things to remember, especially as you like go through business and just learn things in life. You just want to be curious and ask questions, but also work hard and make sure you do your best.
Yeah, that's a great philosophy. But I do want to say that my success, and I don't even want to call it my success, our success is related to all the people that we have around us, whether it was in the steel business, whether it's at the airport. I get some of the credit, but I don't deserve it. It's the people around me that are really the ones that are like you, Jordan, who have that curiosity and that interest of being good and executing. And I say there are really three things that are important. There's planning, and there's execution, and then there's finishing. And you have to have all three of those things, because you could do any one of those three things, but if you don't do them all, you may not be you may not end up where you want to be at the end of a project.
Yeah. So why did you want to go into criminal justice?
That's an interesting story. So my father actually was an MP in the police in the Army.
Okay.
And I actually have a twin brother. You can't tell us apart. I always say he's the ugly one, but he says I'm the ugly one. So people can't tell us apart. But he's a retired police chief, so we had an interest in this as young folks.
Yeah.
And I was the first person in my family to go to college, and I didn't have a lot of experience. And I actually was a probation officer when I was in college at a certain point too. So I've been very fortunate, but love the degree, love what people do. I love what our public safety people do. If you watch the story this week that unfolded in Pennsylvania with the fugitive, I mean, it's a very risky business. There's a lot of personal sacrifice. You know, we lose police officers, we lose firefighters. 9/11 just passed, and of course that made me reflect on all that folks give to the rest of us, and sometimes pay the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
So yes, I had a love for that and an interest in it. I have no idea how my life twisted and turned that I became an airport CEO, but here I am.
Imagine just being in high school and someone telling you to be the airport CEO, and you'll be like, what?
Well, that's funny that you say that, Jordan, because I grew up exactly 3 miles from Detroit Metro Airport. I grew up with the sounds of aircraft and ended up in my 50s being the CEO of an airport, and I have no idea how the road got me there. So that's something else that I would tell all of you. You don't know where the road's going to take you. I had never been in Columbus except for one football game. When the Spartans played the Buckeyes, which the Buckeyes won, by the way, for all of you Buckeye fans. But that was 10 or 15 years before I ended up in Columbus, and never in a million years would I have thought I'd have been the airport CEO in Columbus.
That's so crazy. So what is something that you're really passionate about?
So I'm passionate about public service, but I'm also passionate about giving. And it doesn't matter if you're in the public or private sector, you can give. The thing that I've prided my career on, and it's really important, is finding people that you can help get to the next step. So people, again, I'll say, because the people that have been so kind to me, whether it's a CEO of a steel company, whether it's a mayor, whether it's a state legislator, have taken time with me to help develop me. So that's something that I really have picked up, and I typically identify people in my management team that I think can get to the next level. So we spend more time with them because they have the passion, they have the curiosity, and they just want to get to the next step. So I think the number one thing I would say in my career that I've been trying to do is give back to what people have given to me. I'm not as successful as they were because they were so kind to me, but we really try to work at making our people develop and be better and understand business is complicated. There's a lot of different things going on, whether it's a steel business or an airport. It's about trying to be intuitive, trying to stay ahead of things, and trying to make sure that you're credible. And credible is important, and credibility is important, whether you're in any business or in your personal life. You have to say, you have to be reliable. You can't say, I'm going to finish this project and not finish it. You have to be committed to getting things done and doing them in a respectful, decent way.
Yeah, yeah. So this is a weird question. People ask me this all the time. So what do you do as a CEO? So like, it's a very different job than I can even explain. People are all the time like, what do you do as an executive director? I'm like, well, I do kind of everything, but also kind of nothing. I don't know. It just, what would you say that you do as a CEO?
So you never know what you're going to see. It's day to day. So yesterday I had a call with another airport CEO about some stuff going on in Washington as it relates to security. I sign a lot of documents. I typically meet with folks and try to get them moving in the right direction. We're working right now on a project to build a brand new terminal for Columbus, a $2 billion project. So we have lots of meetings on that. But it's really just leadership, guidance, and help. So what we want to do, what we have to do as leaders is invest in our people to make sure that they can do it without us. So you really want to walk out the door when you're done and have the organization as solid as possible, and the leadership have picked up the skills. So I'll tell you one quick story. Airports tend to be very bureaucratic. I tend to be very entrepreneurial. I've worked in so there was a gentleman here who's a great guy, who's the CEO of Grand Rapids Airport. His name is Torrey Richardson. When I arrived, he had aspirations to be an airport CEO. So my philosophy to him was, and we had a lot of conversations about this, take everything that you know from the what I would call bureaucratic administrative government piece, because this had been a very government-focused bureaucratic business, and then take what you can from me, which is more entrepreneurial, it's more maverick, it's more a little freewheeling from a business standpoint, and everybody has a different philosophy. Put them together and be a way better CEO than I am.
Yeah.
So that was my mission with him, and he's a terrific CEO. He's the CEO of Grand Rapids Airport, and he can do anything he wants to do because he's that kind of guy.
Yeah, that's really cool.
As a pilot, he's a very skilled guy.
He is a pilot, you
said?
He's
a pilot.
That's so cool.
Yeah. You do not want me to, people ask me all the time if I'm a pilot. I said, you don't even want to ride with me in a car, much less in an airplane.
How often do you fly places?
You know, I don't fly very much. We're actually making plans this morning, to fly to LA for a conference. I don't do many conferences, but I probably fly 6 or 8 times a year. Not enough. But I appreciate everybody who's flying. So everybody out there, keep buying tickets. Don't drive, fly.
Leaders of Today, the nonprofit, gives away microgrants to 14 to 25-year-olds. So if those students have an idea of something that they want to do to change their community, Leaders of Today will give them a microgrant of up to $1,000 to go and do that project.
This year, Leaders of Today has added an education component of our nonprofit. We have developed a leadership curriculum discussing our 7 values: leadership, generosity, teamwork, innovation, networking, service, and fun. These videos can be found on our YouTube at Leaders of Today CO. We also have used this curriculum to host 2 summer programs for both high schoolers and middle schoolers, as well as an annual high school conference. We are now expanding by developing a 7-week high school leadership training. Cohorts will meet weekly to enhance their leadership skills.
To learn more about Leaders of Today, you can visit leadersofTodayCO.com. What is something that you're proud of that the airport is doing right now?
So we're doing so much, and customer experience is our most important thing. So we want to make sure that we focus on customer experience. So at the end of it all, we want people to have a good experience here. We want them to be able to say, I flew through Columbus airports, I had good food, people were nice to me, the bathrooms were clean, all those things are important. So I would say our number one thing, and we're working on a lot of things, including a $2 billion terminal, is at the end of it all, it's about the customer. What can we do to make somebody have a good experience in our airport system? And that is our priority.
And I know even just from our standpoint, they've asked us what things have we seen at other airports that we think that we should go into our new terminal, which is really cool, just even from where I am.
Well, that's great. So that makes me really happy that our leadership is having positive conversations with folks, and everybody has something to offer. So the fact that they're asking you, even though you haven't been, and sometimes it all depends on perspective. New people can bring us a lot of information because once you get into something and you're doing it the same thing for a long time, sometimes you end up forgetting what you can do to do better. So I really appreciate the fact that our leadership is talking to folks and asking them how we can do better.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing about, especially when we get new people for Leaders of Today. Like, what things do you think we could do better, or like what ideas do you have? And I really try to make sure that they don't not say things because they're scared to like put themselves out there, but just to say things that we can improve and be better.
Well, good for you, because that's something that I worked really hard on at Columbus Airports and every position I've ever had. Sometimes people are very nervous. They feel like it's going to hurt them to speak up.
Yeah.
And you can't get better if you're not listening to people who know better than you. So that's why I have such pride in the future and pride in people like you and my daughter and my nephews, because I just see so much balance and so much intelligence in the youth and young leaders. I think we see this everywhere, whether it's universities, whether we see it. I mean, there's a big conversation going on right now between the presidential candidates and their age. It's time to pass the torch to a new generation.
Yeah.
And John F. Kennedy said it in the 60s. Youth really can get us to the next step.
Yeah. I love hearing that.
It's absolutely true.
Yeah.
The kindness. I mean, the extraordinary, what I see in young people is a lack of judgment. I see, and I don't mean good or bad judgment, I mean judgment on others. And they're so inclusive and kind and respectful. And that gives my heart hope, how kind people are to folks that are different or diverse or from different countries or sexual orientation or any of those things. So it is really, really good to see that our youth is way ahead of us on some of those things.
That's so cool. That is so cool just to hear. And I know a lot of them probably feel the same way, and just the things that we get to do and just how we can change the world.
You are better than us, and keep staying and being better than us. And I'm saying in general, I'm not saying specific people.
Yeah.
I'm saying that, things have to pass and move to a new way of thinking. And that's why I love the young leadership, and I love being around young people. They teach me so much. Yeah. And that's been true of my whole career. But as I've aged, younger people are even more dramatically kind and helpful and non-judgmental, and I love that about the young people.
What is something that you, I guess, do to like learn more from young people?
Listen. So the only way that you learn from people is by listening.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it. In Detroit, when I was the CEO there, we had a group of young people that came in from a very economically challenged part of Detroit. They were interested in aviation, and they spent time. I insisted that they spend. So I have the soft drinks in my office. So I insisted that these young high schoolers come see me every day to get a Coke or a water or whatever, so I could listen to them.
Yeah.
And so their perspective on life, challenges. They grew up in a very difficult area of Detroit, and it was just such a pleasure to hear from them again. So listening is the most important thing. And honestly, I think young people make people like us better, because if we stay where we are, we're in trouble. The younger people have so much more enthusiasm. They have so much more intelligence. And one of the things I really notice about young people is awareness. They have a lot of awareness about what's going on around them, and a lot of interest in the world and environment, and you name it. But everything that's really good and important about the future, young people care about it.
Yeah. What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Oh, that's a great question. Some advice I've taken and some I haven't.
Yeah.
So I think that the one thing, the mistake that I made, and I talk about this with my leaders today, I encourage them to take vacations and take time off and enjoy their families. I think the best advice that I've ever given is to have a really good work-life balance, and I've been very unsuccessful in that space. But in any event, I think, again, I would say young people understand that they can offer. I used to say this: there are people that can get 8 hours worth of work done in a couple of hours, and there are people that can get 8 hours worth of work done in about 2 days. So it's really about understanding that every individual is different, and I think I'll say I get some advice. Nobody's perfect, and people make mistakes, and everybody makes mistakes. I like to say I make more mistakes than anybody in this organization because I make the most decisions.
Yeah.
But you have to be respectful and work people through that. But I think the advice about work-life balance is really important, and I think young people are much smarter about that than people of my generation.
One of the things that we're doing right now that I'm super, super proud of is that we're taking all of next month off for just rest. So we just get to rest and not think about Leaders of Today things and hopefully come back with new ideas. But just being able to just rest, because I feel like that is so out of everyone's scope sometimes. Just being able to not have to do things is I feel like you have so many more ideas when you come back, or new ways to do things, or you just have time to reflect. When you're in it every day, it's different. Yeah. So yeah, the work-life balance thing is something that I've been thinking about too.
Yeah, it's really important, and I failed miserably at that. And there's always another meeting to have, so I'm 9 months through the year without much vacation, and I said to my assistant the other day, okay, I have these 4 days in September. We have to turn off the phone. But this is where it gets really complicated. When you're running an airport, it's 24/7.
Yeah.
Something can happen anytime, so you can't really turn your phone off. So it's a high intensity business. There's a lot of people that depend on us, and we have to really be available 24/7, whether you're on vacation or not. So I have a great team, and I trust them completely. But sometimes CEO, you ask what a CEO does. Sometimes it requires being available 24/7 and dealing with a crisis. And airports are tough businesses. I mean, we've seen a lot go on. 9/11, when airports were shut down, and COVID, where airports were. I would walk through the terminal and I'd be the only one out there with a few flight crews. We wouldn't see any passengers. So you have to always be prepared for what's going to come next. And during COVID, of course, we were most concerned about our employees.
Yeah.
It was a lot of late night meetings and a lot of conversations about people who may have contracted COVID or vaccinations, or it went on and on and on. So when you're dealing with your people, you have to be available. That is a 24/7 business.
Yeah. So I mean, there's been a whole bunch of just different random things that you've had to do since you've been here. So like you went through COVID at our airport, right?
Yes, sir.
And then you've been building the terminal. What other big things have you done since you've been here?
So I think it's really interesting that you say that, because I remember my first evaluation, and my board has treated me wonderfully. I mean, I am so fortunate to have the talent and the folks on our board. But I will say the number one thing when they ask me, okay, we've accomplished this, we've saved money, we've improved customer experience, we've increased diversity, we've done a lot of different things. What is the thing you think you failed on? And that's a really interesting question, because culture is everything. So if you don't have a good culture, if people aren't enjoying what they're doing, if they don't care about each other, if they don't care about the mission of the organization, you struggle. And so when it comes to projects, we just put an ERP, which is the complete guts of our technology here. It's finishing up in the next couple of months. There are projects, whether it be a terminal, ERP, customer experience, whatever we're doing. But if you don't have the right culture, everything starts with people. And you need to focus on your people. And I would say, you asked what our biggest accomplishment was in our career. I think it's been doing as much as we could for our employees here. That's a different issue other than a project like the European project here in Valley Europe. But it all starts with culture. Yeah. So you have to have the right people who care about each other and care about the mission of the organization. So I would say we are never where we need to be on culture. It's an ongoing space, and it's an ongoing mission. And you have to continue treating people with respect and decency and making sure that we're all doing the same thing. So projects matter, but you can't do projects if you don't have culture.
Yeah. So what are some of the fun things that we could do at the airport? So like even tomorrow we have our race. So what other things do we have that you think are fun and interesting?
So we do a lot of fun things here. We really want to focus on our employees. We have a Roosters food truck coming in soon.
Yes.
We bring in
It's on Wednesday.
Yeah, we love that. We are the 5K. Our team has worked very hard on that. That's for Honor Flight Columbus, so we can have veterans go see their memorials and all the things in Washington D.C. that are built in honor of our veterans and our service members. So we really do try to do a lot of things. We try to involve people and do little Christmas get-togethers or holiday get-togethers. I shouldn't say Christmas. It's a multi-denominational group. We have Muslims. We have all kinds of different religions here. So, and that's great. I love it. So I'll tell you something fun I did last night. This is National Housekeeping Week.
Yeah.
And I was with 3 shifts of our custodians who, by the way, run the cleanest airport in the whole world. If you go to any other airport, you'll see what our custodians do. So I was able to be with them. We celebrated them with a dinner last night. So I was with them at 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. and then again at 11 p.m. So the bags under my eyes may have something to do with me not getting to sleep early enough. But it's about celebrating our employees. So I really have a group of leaders around me who all think like we think.
Yeah.
It's all about our employees, and it sounds like you're having an experience like that over at Airfield. So that makes me feel good, but I will tell you, you're never where you want to be on culture. You have to work on it every single day because it'll slip away from you if you're not committed to that.
And one of the things that I've learned, even just how we've had Leadership Today for almost 3 years now, and the more people you add, the harder it gets, like, for sure. I remember when there was just 3 of us that did most of our work, and it was so easy because we were all just like friends, and now we have 15 or 20, and that it just gets harder to manage all those relationships and control the culture. So I can't even imagine what it's like having, I don't know how many employees are at the airport, but
So remember what I said, Jordan? It's about listening. So you tell me what you've enjoyed here. So we have the ice cream truck, we have food, we have tell me what we can do better. So it doesn't have to be on this podcast. It can be anytime you see me, but we're really interested in hearing from folks like you who have. It's an honor for us that you've committed your time and your resources to Columbus Airport. So what can we do better?
Yeah.
I
love ice cream.
Have you had the ice cream?
The ice cream truck is definitely great.
Well, that's a tribute to our human resources team. They really do care about people and training, and there are other things, not just ice cream and chicken wings, but training and I saw something online last night from one of our technology people who was just bragging about, it humbled me, said he was grateful because he was able to leave his job and go get CPR training, which again is a very giving thing to either the community, to his friends, to his family. And he said something last night on LinkedIn about how grateful he is to work at Columbus Airports because we allowed him to go get CPR training during his workday. And that's a really interesting story because I'm humbled that he cares enough about people to go get CPR training, and he's telling us how grateful he is that Columbus Airports lets him. So clearly a win-win, but I think we get the better part of the deal like we do with you too. So.
I think, even just for me, I did CPR training here at ARF, which is the airport fire station. But I did CPR training here.
That's what he did too. That's what he said on LinkedIn. He did it at the ARF station.
That's crazy. That's really cool. That's really cool.
So it's not just about ice cream, although I love ice cream too, and chicken wings, and we
do lots of lunch and learns too. I think
Good.
there's like 2 a week usually, 2 lunch and learns a week.
So how do you like the culture here, Jordan? Do you believe it's an evolving, friendly, inclusive culture?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Good.
I think it's very you can see it in a lot of places, especially as I've gone through I've gotten to talk to lots of different executive directors or CEOs of different things, and just being able to know how it's like here versus even just talking to some of the employees at other places is really cool. I think it's just different the way that we do things here. And
so we're doing okay is what you're saying?
Yeah, we're definitely doing okay.
Good. Because it's important to me.
Yeah. I didn't look at this question. What are qualities that you look for in a great leader?
So everybody's different, right? Everybody has different skill sets. I think you have to care about people. So the first thing we want, so when we recruit, and we recruit for high level positions when we have a CFO, and I want to say when I say high level, everybody here is equally important. It doesn't matter what your position is, but there are positions that require different skill sets. A CFO has to be an accountant. I can't count, so we really need a good CFO. I'm kidding, but everybody out there who's an accountant who wants to be a CFO can count. So it's what other skills do they have? Do they respect people? Do they have the opportunity to grow people? Do they have the interest and passion for aviation or good business? But ultimately, it's about those skills that are outside of the technical skills that make a good leader. It's caring about people. Sometimes it's tough. We've had to part with people. And I always view that as not a good fit. It's never that there's anything wrong with the person. It's just that they were not a good fit for the organization. And those are the most difficult things we deal with as leaders. But it really is about the skills that come with passion, caring, respect, and decency. People always ask me when I started here, Joe, you want to fix the culture? You want to fix the culture? You want to fix the culture? And people say, well, I don't understand that. That sounds complicated. I said, it's not complicated at all. I say, what did your parent tell you, or your friend or your brother or sister tell you about life? I know that my mother, when I went to kindergarten, she said, treat other people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah. It's
Right?
really not hard.
Respect and culture are not really hard. But there's also the performance part in businesses, but you can treat people respectfully whether they're succeeding or not, and the first key is always try to help them succeed.
Yeah.
But culture, again, I know you've heard a lot about culture from me today here, and I apologize for continuing to bring it up. But
I think that's one of the coolest things that we get to do just on the podcast is just listen to what is actually important to different people. And so I think that culture being such an important thing to you, it shows. I mean, even just the amount of times that I get to come over to the terminal versus, because my building is on the other side of the airport, but just I get to come over to the terminal at least once a month just for something and talk to people over here and meet people like over here, which is really cool. It's really cool.
Well, people matter, and if we take the time with people and to make them understand that they matter, and that a custodian, and I say this often, a custodian's job is more important than my job. What you do on the airfield when it's snowing, if you can't get the airfield clear, then I have a problem, right? So who's more important when it's snowing? Not the CEO, it's you.
Yeah.
And that we're very grateful for, and hopefully that shows. Our administrative team understands that while we have these positions and there's this food chain, and that's how the organization works, we're nothing if we don't have the airfield cleaned.
Yeah.
And we're nothing if we don't have the terminals clean. We're nothing if not for our people, our dedicated, hardworking, committed people that make this airport. They turn the lights on, right?
Yeah.
We don't turn the lights on. You can't count money on landing fees if you can't land a plane because there's snow on the airfield.
Yeah.
So it all goes back to the people that are doing the work.
Mm-hmm. What is something you wish you would have known when you were my age?
Wow, that's a great question. I think time goes by really quickly, and people tell you that, and you don't hear them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one thing that I would tell you and the young leaders that are watching or listening. Make every day count, make every minute count. And there's no guarantee. I've been very blessed. Unfortunately lost a little brother to cancer in his 40s and miss him every single day. But really, there's no guarantee of where the world's going, but to have joy. And I do think your generation is much better at that than ours. Mm-hmm. But it's really about making sure that you celebrate your victories. And there are many, and there are many more to come for you, and I'm sure there are many more to come for many of these listeners. It really is important to take a moment to celebrate what you've done, and it's generally around people. What have you done for people in your organization? How have you raised people up? How have you made them better? And how have you done it in a respectful, decent, caring way?
Yeah. How do you celebrate your victories?
Well, I'm not great at that either. So
Me neither.
And so I think that that there are a lot of people that can teach us things, and we have to be willing to listen. And I'm not always great at listening when it comes to work-life balance and victories. I'm trying as I've gotten to this point in my career, and I'm in the twilight of my career. So it really is. What I do after my victories is try to find the next victory, and that's not a really necessarily healthy mindset. So we are trying to celebrate. Our team has put us in a position to build a new terminal. I've said this in the Columbus Business First. When I arrived here and the board said, we need to build a terminal, we had no money. So I looked at them and said, we're not going to build a terminal. We don't have any money to build a terminal. So in the last 5 years, our people have really run a great business. They've understood the entrepreneurial side. I mean, this year will be our best year ever in Columbus Airports on the financial side.
That's awesome.
So it's a tribute again to our leadership, but it's what's the next step. So that's something that's maybe not very healthy, that I encourage all of you to celebrate your victories and enjoy, whether it's finishing college, whether it's finishing a class, whether it's doing something nice for somebody else. I think it's really cool to celebrate your victories. And I do think, again, that you're much smarter than us, and hopefully you'll learn from our mistakes.
Yeah. I know as a person, it is much easier for me to encourage others to celebrate their victories, even within leadership today. Like, good job, we got this project done, or we hosted our conference, or we finished our summer programs, and be like, yay, look at us, we did a good job, and have some sort of celebration around that. But for me, myself, in the back, I'm like, what is the next thing that we're going to do? So I am very similar in that way.
Well, we have to talk. You have to be better.
I'm trying.
I'm counting on you to be better.
I'm learning.
Okay. I know you'll be better.
We're going to take it. Great news! Did you know the Leaders of Today podcast is now on YouTube? You can follow our YouTube channel at Leaders of Today CO. It also has the curriculum that Leaders of Today has developed over the past year on it.
Wow! I gotta check that out. And you can also follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn and where else?
And Facebook.
And Facebook
Yeah.
at Students Leading Today.
Yeah, so go follow along to see what we're up to now. It's all of our nonprofit stuff, but also has all of our podcast things. Oh,
Yeah.
and you can also go to our website, leadersoftoday.co/podcast, and then you can comment and see the people on the show and people from last season, and you can listen to us wherever podcasts are.
Lots of good stuff. There might even be puppies on there.
Maybe even puppies. Right, Gibby? What is some advice that you would give to someone like me or my peers?
Another great question, Jordan. I think the best advice I can give you is don't be defeated, don't be disappointed, keep moving, because we're all going to have failures. And I was actually fired once in my career. I worked for a city, and best thing that ever happened to me, but it was more of a political thing. I was very close with the former mayor, and the new mayor was elected and said, you can't work here anymore because you were very close with the former mayor. So I could have been unhappy, and I was fired on a Friday and had a new job on a Tuesday. I was very blessed, again, people looking out for me, as I mentioned earlier. So I think it's just keep moving forward. And the number one thing you can do is actually be credible. When someone asks you to do something, do it and be good at it and do it quicker than they ask you to do it. And the way I view my leaders, it's interesting. Somebody said, you view the leaders that solve problems for you or create problems for you. So anything that you can do to solve issues for people you work with, that doesn't even just go for business. It goes for your personal life too. If your parents, if they need the grass cut and you cut the grass, well, they're happy that you cut the grass. So it's being reliable, dependable, and credible, and your word is really important. And it's okay to make a mistake, and it's okay to say, you know, I own this. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Let me do better tomorrow. And I think people get discouraged. I think that's one thing that I see a little bit with your generation. I think people get a little discouraged. Don't get discouraged. Just power through and continue doing good things.
Yeah. So this is really funny because even before I asked you, or before you said that we should like celebrate our accomplishments. I wrote this question down. But what is something that you do for fun?
So I'm going to run in the 5K, which
Okay.
is Saturday, tomorrow. So I enjoy running. I'm getting a little clunky. I run like a Clydesdale. I'm slow. I've run a few marathons, and I enjoy
That's
being
so cool.
outside. I really like the beach.
Mm-hmm.
So I like being able to go to the beach and hang out. Spent a lot of time in the Florida Keys.
Okay.
Jimmy Buffett, rest in peace. We don't do a lot. I mean, when I'm away from work, I actually, and this is a major problem, so I'll say I want all of you to be better than I am. Work is my recreation. I enjoy working, and it's a lot of fun accomplishing things, but you need, again, to have a good work-life balance. So I love going to the beach, like traveling. And I'll say when I was running the company in Belgium, I didn't spend any time to go drive around Europe or whatever. I just worked. I'd get on a plane, fly from Detroit to Brussels or Amsterdam, and get to work and enjoy things a little bit more. But no, I enjoy work. I enjoy people. And if you ask me running, I try to run, although those days may be behind me soon. My knees are a little clunky, but I really, the downtime, I enjoy a beach. I enjoy the ocean. I enjoy tropical
You sound
weather.
just like me. I actually just did a triathlon last weekend, which is pretty cool. And I'm not running the 5K, but I'll be there.
Well, good. Well, you look like an athlete. I look like an eater. So
I don't know about that. What book are you reading right now?
So I just finished the book. It's actually on my desk. It's a book about leadership.
Okay.
I wish I had the title and not you just should I grab it and tell you, but no, it's a book about leadership. A gentleman who was involved in the military, was actually the chancellor at the University of Texas after he left the military, but it tells a lot of stories and it's interesting. One of the things, the big takeaway from this book, it's all about leadership, and I've asked my entire executive team to read it.
Oh, wow.
So
That's cool.
I'm sorry that I don't have the title. It's over on my desk. I don't know the title of it, but it's about the guy who he had a famous book about make your bed from the military.
Yeah. Shoot.
General, yeah.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know his name.
Yeah.
Not right this second, though.
Yeah, sorry that I'm at a loss.
No.
I wish I would have brought it in with me. It's all right over in my office.
It's
But
okay.
we've enjoyed it. What my technology guy has shared it with his entire team, and they're having
Okay.
book club on this book, and it says a lot. It's a really cool book. So,
Huh. What is something that you wish you were asked about more often?
how we can do better
Yeah.
as an organization,
Mhm.
and how we can share our successes and generally. I am a maverick in the airport business. We talk about this all the time. Airports tend to be very bureaucratic, very government. They're owned, a lot of them are owned by cities and counties. I think that we have a lot to offer people in the entrepreneurial spirit of how we run airports and try to be a little bit more efficient, a little less bureaucratic. And I think people have asked, but I think that we have a really good formula, our team, on how to run an airport. And frankly, if there's a better run airport in the U.S., I suggest you let us know so we can learn something from them. But we're pretty good.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a boastful way. It's a pride that our team has done such a great job.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that I'm all out of questions. So I guess the last one is how we always end all of our podcasts. So how are you a leader of today, but from the top down? I guess it's pretty much what we've talked about the whole time.
So yes, it's understanding that I had a really great job as a young man, and probably a little older than you, but I was in my mid to late 20s, and I was promoted to run a city, not a small city, but not a large city, about 80,000, my hometown. How prideful would that be to be the top administrative guy in your hometown, which is just east of Detroit Metro Airport. And I would say to people, I learned this, I'm a big deal in City Hall, although I never thought I was a big deal, and I still don't think that I am. I mean, and I'm not, by the way. But take one step outside of City Hall, and nobody cares about you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a really important thing. Humbleness is an important characteristic. When you lead, sometimes you have to do it with passion and ambition, but it really doesn't matter what your position is. We're all equal. Yeah. And again, I said, your job is more important than mine. Mm-hmm. When it's snowing, I need you a lot more than you need me. And the passengers need you a lot more than than they need me. Yeah. And any of our leadership or our accountants or whatever. So it's really about people, and all you are in life is a snapshot. And it's funny, I had this conversation with a leader the other day. It doesn't really matter what you accomplish. It doesn't matter if you build a terminal or save $250 million. Mm-hmm. It matters what people believe about you and about your leadership. And you want to leave with them knowing that you cared about them. And that's really all they're going to remember. Yeah, they'll remember the terminal. They'll remember this. They'll remember that. But they'll remember how much you cared about them far more than what you accomplished.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm leaving encouraged to just go do good things for our team just today. Well, send him something special.
Jordan, thank you for your commitment to Columbus Airports. Thank you for your commitment to helping people, leaders of the future. And I'd love to continue this conversation off mic, but whatever we can do for you, I know that you have done a lot for us, so thank you.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much. Thanks for being on the podcast, and I'm just so proud to work for you.
Well, I'm proud that you work with us, and I'm so thrilled that you're here, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening, and we will see you again next week.
Thank you.